What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today we're going to talk about what we could expect to see as the Jets go down to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. But remember, if you want to get down with Jets Latest and become a insider, remember to click on that join button on the bottom of the screen. You get exclusive content, all sorts of other perks as we go through the 2025 season and beyond. Thank you to everybody who watches these videos, who like these videos, who engage in the comments. You know I love to read some out here on the show from the Jets Latest regulars. And also subscribe. Tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. This way you get the insights, you get the updates on the green and white every single day. But let's get into it. And like I usually do on a Friday, where I want to start is with the injury report. I guess the biggest thing to say is that Tyrod Taylor is healthy, remember? And going in a few weeks ago, it looked like Tyrod Taylor was going to take over for Justin Fields. But remember, he couldn't because he missed time with that knee injury. Well, he is fully recovered, and he is going to be the starting quarterback for the Jets. We know that. You guys know the way I feel about that I think it is for the greater good of the organization and the roster to get a real evaluation, and it seems like Muji and Glenn start to think so as well. Another key return, in my opinion, is the return of A.Z. Thomas. Remember, he was in the concussion protocol. He has returned to full practice. Looks like he is going to play against Baltimore. I think that's really important, okay? Without Sauce Gardner, we are moving forward here with Brandon Stevens, with Jarvis Brownlee, and with A.Z. Thomas. We have liked A.Z. Thomas so far. He looks like he can be a prototypical cornerback for an Aaron Glenn man press kind of system. And his return allows Brownlee to kind of go back into the slot, where I think he played better when he was on the outside. He did not have a good game recently. So the return of Thomas, I think, is important. Then here's some other Jets, though, that have missed practice. I mean, Will McDonald, who had his 4-sack game a couple of weeks back, he's dealing with a quad injury. And Harrison Phillips, who's really important in terms of the run defense, he is dealing with a foot. Those are important to me because, listen, when we talk about the Baltimore Ravens, obviously Lamar Jackson is something to contend with. But let's not forget, they've got King Henry in that run game as well. And we already are down without Quinnen Williams. If Harrison Phillips can't go and we have Will McDonald out for that pass rush, that could compromise us defensively against a fully formed Baltimore Ravens with Lamar back. On the Baltimore side, listen, they have two offensive linemen that are dealing with injuries. Ronnie Stanley and Andrew Voorhees have missed practice time this week. Rashad Bateman has an ankle injury. And on defense, listen, guys like Roquan Smith have a hamstring. Kyle Hamilton with a shoulder injury, and their nickelback, good big-time veteran Marlon Humphrey, also listed as questionable. So there's your injury report. I really think what I want to see, I'm excited to see Azariah Thomas. I want to see Adarius Thomas. He's one of these younger guys we need to get a read on throughout the back half of the season here, because we need to see if Stevens and Thomas can be the outside corners, allowing Brownlee to be in the slot. So I really want to see how Thomas does, whether he's on Zay Flowers, whether it is Bateman, whether it's D-Hop, or someone else in that passing game in the secondary. So those are kind of where we stand moving forward. We've been talking about in this offseason, right? We've been talking about the draft capital, guys like Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza. We've been talking about re-signing Breece Hall potentially. Another place to really, really watch and how we address this offseason is in the offensive line. Our offensive line, you guys know we talk about it all the time, has been really good in my opinion this year, especially in the run game. And it is anchored by young studs that we have drafted. Check this out. Membu is PFF's #1 right tackle from this year's draft class. Olu Fashanu, our #1 pick last year, is PFF's #2 left tackle from that draft class. Joe Tippmann, who has done a great job, we drafted him at center, has moved over to guard because after the AVT injury, allowing Myers to play center. Tippmann is PFF's #2 right guard from that draft class. And I say this because everyone's talking about the quarterback. We have a history, whether it's been with Muji, whether it's been before that with Douglas, of really using our first-round pick in the trenches. And I know we have 4 of the top 45 picks, and everyone's talking about, the quarterback situation. But I would not be surprised if we continue that trend and use big-time picks on offensive linemen to kind of maintain that as a strength. And I say that because, we've got these young guys in Membu and Tippmann and Fashanu, but Simpson is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. AVT is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And Josh Myers, who we got from Green Bay, is now playing center, is only on a 1-year deal. Okay, so offensive line, whether it is bringing our guys like Simpson and AVT and Myers back, whether it is in the kind of free agent market elsewhere. For example, we're playing Baltimore and their Pro Bowl center Lindenbaum is going to be a free agent, or whether it is what I think will happen, us continuing to use high, draft capital on offensive line. I've been saying it. I don't think we necessarily draft a quarterback this year. I could see us with the number 4 overall pick, let's say, getting the best offensive lineman on the board. Let's say New Orleans is ahead of us. They draft a quarterback. Let's say Cleveland is ahead of us. They draft a quarterback. Let's say one of these other guys like the Giants or whatever draft the edge rusher Bain out of Miami, something like that. Tennessee drafts the edge rusher. There's a universe where at 3, 4, 5, something like that in the draft, we take the number 1 rated offensive lineman to continue to build along that offensive line. And quite frankly, we've had a good track record doing it. I also would not be surprised. Like I said, we have our pick and we have the Colts pick. It's not crazy for us to spend 2 first-round draft picks on offensive linemen. You laugh maybe, but I kind of think we've done that before. The names DeBrickashaw, Ferguson, and Nick Mangold come to mind. That worked out pretty good and led to an era where we were protecting a guy like Chad Pennington and going into the playoffs. So keep an eye out on that and, building from the inside out. And I make comps to the Detroit Lions all the time. The Detroit Lions have been anchored by that offensive line, guys like Penei Sewell, Decker, and others, so I know Aaron Glenn values that, okay? Here's the other thing. Let's continue to talk about moving forward. You got to talk about the draft, and it's interesting. We're now in the back half of the season where sometimes teams are watching the scoreboard for playoff positioning, who's winning, who's losing. We are going to be watching the scoreboard, but for the reverse, for draft positioning. Remember, the Jets have the number 5 pick. We're 2 touchdown dogs to go into Baltimore and probably lose again, right? But listen, it's like a lot of these other teams are probably going to lose again too. The Titans have the 1 pick, but they're 2 touchdown dogs to the Seattle Seahawks, a team that's in the playoff chase. The Giants are 10-point dogs. They play against the Detroit Lions, a playoff team. The Browns, this is an interesting one. The Browns have the 3 pick. Okay, but they play the Vegas Raiders, who currently have the 6th pick right behind us. So, one of those teams is going to lose. There may be some shaking between the Browns and the Raiders, and the other one is the Saints, who are directly in front of us in the draft. They have the 4 pick, but they play the Falcons, and the Falcons currently are in that 8th spot. Remember, that's actually not the Falcons' pick. They've traded that to the Rams. So, in Cleveland versus Vegas, 2 teams in the top 10 playing each other. We'll see how that happens. Saints and Falcons, 2 teams with top 10 picks or in that top 10 slots. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, remember also, we're cheering against the Cowboys and the Colts because we have their picks, right? And they got tough games as well. The Colts go play the Kansas City Chiefs in a game the Chiefs need to have. And the Cowboys play the Eagles in an interesting NFC East matchup, okay? And I'll keep on saying it. Those 2 games are going to be leverage points, right? Cleveland, Vegas, someone's going to drop, but someone's going to win, unfortunately, there. Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. And same with Saints and Falcons. And I'll say it again. Tennessee and the Giants, if they are above us, they are not going to go quarterback. Tennessee used number 1 for Cam Ward last year. Giants have Jackson Dart, who they're happy with, and are going to see if he could be their franchise quarterback, a first-round pick last year. So we shall see about all that. But I'm telling you, I actually would not be surprised if the Jets do not use their top 5, top 6 pick, whatever it winds up being, on the quarterback, on Simpson, on Mendoza, and instead go for the bridge quarterback route in 2026 as they use their draft capital. And like I said, we have hit on early round picks at the offensive line position, and I do believe that will maintain as a priority for Muji and Glenn. We'll see if we bring like AVT back, who should probably get a big deal. We'll see if we bring Simpson back, right? We'll see if we splurge in the free agent market. But a way to build this in a sustainable way is using high leverage draft capital on the offensive line. And with Membu, Fashanu, Tippmann, we have AVT. We have seen doing that before. So that's what I want to talk about. It's a little bit less about the game against Baltimore because, quite frankly, with 2 touchdown dogs, Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, King Henry, we know what that is, and we know what Tyrod Taylor is really here for the Jets in the back half of the season. So let's look forward in terms of what this offensive line is going to be, and that is going to be the priority, in my opinion, even over quarterback, because that is our strength here for the green and white. An offensive line that can move people, an offensive line that can protect, whether it's a bridge quarterback or a rookie quarterback, and maintain the run game as something that is, like it is right now, an elite unit in the NFL. So we'll see, and we'll see, after this week where we stand in the draft. Remember, the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Saints, the Raiders. These are teams we are going to have to look at, and we also have an eye on the Colts and the Cowboys as well. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. Let's see what some of you Jets Latest regulars have to say. Look to Jamie says, Glenn is caving into pressure in the wrong way. He should start Brady Cook because winning the game is not going to do anything for the Jets. He would show signs of a skill builder. Brady Cook can show if there's talent or not. And here's the deal. I think Brady Cook is going to get a look, but I think it's going to happen later on in the season. I think we need Tyrod right now because, like I said, it gives us a better evaluation of the Mitchells, the Mechis, the Mason Taylors of the world, right? It gives us a better look to maybe be more on script, see what the run game does, see what the defense does in a more relevant situation. But, and Brady Cook is not going to be a starting quarterback for us. He was an undrafted free agent. It is very rare that turns out to be the franchise quarterback, okay? But maybe there is something there in terms of a backup. Maybe there is something there for him to be staying on the roster, and maybe he will get a look. It's interesting that a lot of people in the comments are talking about Brady Cook. We've got also Ace of Spades says, if they don't get Fernando Mendoza, it'll be the biggest mistake since passing on Josh Allen. I think that's interesting, but, again, I don't know that they're going to do the quarterback this year. I really do think they're going to take the slower approach and build out this roster and go with a veteran next year. Maybe a Mac Jones, for goodness sakes, right? To kind of solidify, stabilize, and be able to further evaluate and then use, remember, 3 first-round picks in 27 can go up and all the way to number 1. If need be, and get whoever it is. Another comment out there, the make on Tyrod is that he'll get hurt as the starter, and we will see Brady Cook anyway. There's a lot of wisdom in my take, but can we evaluate the roster and Cook at the same time? Maybe. We got 7 games, though. I think the roster outside of Brady Cook is a bigger priority than Brady Cook because, again, to me, his ceiling is backup quarterback, okay? But it's a point well taken. And then Ronald Weber, shout out to him, says, excellent take, Dane. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody continuing here, even though the Jets are stumbling, even though the Jets are on a long road to a rebuild, right? I appreciate everybody that watch these videos, like these videos, engage in the comments. That's why I try to, shout you guys out. Tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. Subscribe to the channel. This way, every single day, you can get what you need about the green and white, okay? And remember, also, if your fantasy team is still in contention, unlike the Jets, hit me up. Check me out over on SiriusXM. I'm the host of the FTN Fantasy Show on Channel 87 on SiriusXM, trying to help you win your leagues and win that cash. I've been in this game for a long time, helping people in the fantasy industry, helping people in the sports betting industry. You can catch me on Sports Grid doing live betting shows as well. Hit me up on social media at Spittin' Speeds. I'd be happy to answer your fantasy questions, answer your sports betting questions, or, as always, talk about the Jets, Jets. Let's see what it looks like under Tyrod Taylor against one of his former teams, the Baltimore Ravens, on Sunday. I will be back next week to discuss it. Also, next week, holiday week, Thanksgiving. I may not be here every single day with the holiday, but we'll be giving you what you need to keep up with the Jets. That's why we call it the Jets Latest, all right? So have a great weekend, everybody. But for this episode of Jets Latest, we out of here. Peace.